And welcome to the Saturday edition of the Follow Through, right? We're finishing out this week as we introduce this book, The Forgiving Challenge. And what it is, it's a 40-day challenge we're doing where we're going to listen to God and we're going to live this thing out. This is a follow-through kind of book. I love it. So we're going to be going through it. If you want to grab one of these, you can stop by Christ Memorial here in Malvern. You can also follow the link in the description. Grab yourself a copy. It's really awesome. And we're going to be going through this all of the days of Lent, right up to Palm Sunday. What an awesome thing. And we've been looking at kind of these phases, steps, the work God's doing as we look at sin, confession, we looked at absolution, today we're going to look at restoration, and we're going to bring in sanctification. That's what God does in our hearts. That's what freedom looks like. When you look at your sin and you confess it to God, you're forgiven by Him, right? You read about that, what Jesus did. And what it does, that forgiveness, knowing the price has been paid for you. And I don't want us to miss this, because I think this is where we kind of have a disconnect, is these last two parts of that scars word that we've been spelling out, is restoration. Because a lot of people go, yeah, I'm forgiven, but we don't live that way. We still live like we're prisoners. We still live like we got to pay this debt. We live in guilt and shame. And I don't mean that we shouldn't acknowledge what we did, right? But again, we've already done that. And what if we've come clean? And we should do this every day. We do this all the time. It's a regular rhythm, but we should never get stuck in the sin or confession, right? Because the absolution part is there. Then that leads us to realize that God has restored us. One of the most beautiful pictures of this is in Psalm 51. We're not going to have time to read the whole thing. I want you today to read that, as well as the section in the Forgiving Challenge book. This is David, just showing us what this looks like. He had failed miserably. Committed adultery, murder, you name it. He did it. And this is his prayer. For God to clean him, for God to fix everything, to forgive his sins, because he says that he knows what he did was against God. Like it offended a whole lot of people. It actually cost one man his life and ruined a marriage. I mean, he did all these things. I mean, you talk about like a soap opera. I mean, this was terrible. But he doesn't whitewash it. He doesn't try to explain it away. He says, Lord, you got me. Like I am not going to squirm out of this. I'm not going to justify this. I sinned. I need you to forgive me. But he doesn't just stop with just forgive me, just say it's okay. Because think about this, when you get into an argument with someone and there's a conflict and there's just a destruction of the relationship, what happens if there isn't really true forgiveness? There's not going to be restoration. And then there's not going to be a new life and a different way of living. So we got to believe that He really did die for us, and He really has made us part of His family. He really has saved us. Things are so different, right? David prays in Psalm 51. I'll get this, verse 12. He says, "Restore to me the joy of your salvation. Uphold me with a willing spirit." He's realizing that there's a lot that's been done to his heart, and he needs God to restore him. To have this renewal in his heart, to where things change, to where he thinks differently and acts differently and lives differently, lives for God, right? He needs a willing spirit to do that. He needs God to uphold that and to lift that up and to continue to keep that moving and going. Sometimes what I don't want us to do is to take everything to God and say, yes, you've forgiven me, and then just go back to the cycle. because that's not the cycle. You know, we always have this recognition and this reality that I know who I am. I know who saved me. But He already has. Now again, there's a continual rhythm of me looking at my life and saying, Lord, yeah, I don't deserve it, but I have it. See, that will always keep me in the right place in His family, restored, forgiven, and free, right? Now, and the restoration and the sanctification, as we live that out, as we make that like who we are and what we do, that is a long process. The other things are done. See, we got to remember that. See, we'll never get to this other part of the process if we don't realize that He completely has forgiven us. The debt has been paid. So much so that God really does love you. He really does love me. He really has made us part of His family. It's not like we're these like horrible creatures now, you know, and He just sort of puts us in a corner. No, we're part of His family. He's brought us in. He's washed us clean. So let this be your prayer today. Psalm 51 verse 12, that He would restore to you all the joy of His salvation and continue to uphold you with a willing spirit. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll be back on Monday, and we're going to get into each and every day. We're going to have something to do, something to write, and I want you to take the time to do those next week. All right, we'll talk to you then, and God's peace.